Nothing can stop you. You become invincible. We fight battles every day in life. When you are bold and you go set forth as a bold person, you will be facing a lot of flack. Kargil is not a story. It's a saga. It's a saga of blood, sacrifice, grit, determination, and courage. If we try, then we can capture, we may capture, and we will be part of history, and we may emerge victorious. We have a chance of victory. We have a chance to win. So try, you must.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to all of the audience that we've got today. A very distinguished group of audience that we have from the healthcare fraternity, both doctors, nurses, paramedics, and everyone who's been fighting this war of COVID. Today morning, I was actually sitting in front of, I was sitting and sipping a cup of tea when, it occurred to me, I should look back on what April 1st last year looked like. And I opened the Times of India, and when I looked at it, some of the news items that appeared where oil marketing companies decide to increase jet fuel prices by 1%. A famous industrialist implicated of financial misappropriation believes that, confiscating his assets was draconian. Now, when you look at the news today, it's very different. 2,500 people tested positive, doctors in the front line. I think we are amidst very unprecedented times, very uncertain times. And in uncertain times like this, we look up to people who've been in such unprecedented times. We look to people who can tell us how this can be done. So today with us is one such person, and I'm very, very pleased to introduce to you Colonel Lalit Rai. Colonel Lalit Rai is a veteran from the Indian Army. He has fought in the Kargil battle, and if I may, the Battle of Kalubar, amongst the many battles, Battle of Kalubar in Batalik sector. He led the 1st Battalion of the 11th Gorkha Regiment in 1999 in the Kargil War. He spent 40 years, training and leading operational leadership. He's a postgraduate from Osmania University in Management. He's also a postgraduate from Naval Postgraduate School in California, an instructor from National Defense Academy. He's also been an instructor of the Officers Training Academy. He's had many close encounters with death, and as he mildly put it, close to about 20 of them in his life. And if anyone had to speak to us about how do we take courage in crisis, it had to be someone like him who's actually faced these crises. Imagine 1,700 feet above sea level, minus 32 degrees Celsius, and where AD rifles or AD assault weapons, guns are raining down at you, close to about 1,000 rounds every minute. I think Colonel Lalit Rai is probably the most apt person for a situation like this. And I welcome him to speak to all of us and talk to us about, how we can have courage in these unprecedented times. Colonel Rai, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anuj. It's always a pleasure. Firstly, I would like to thank Dr. Reddy's for giving me this wonderful platform where, of course, I can't see the doctors or the paramedics or the healthcare people, but I know they would be listening to me and seeing me on the screens. Just like he looked back somewhere in last year, April, I was also thinking back in May, what was happening. And then somewhere in mid-May or little beyond that, I remember We were the first ones to be called there, and I was making my way. I took my battalion. We were absolutely making up the strengths and building up, to build up your capability to attack. And that time, we did not know whether it was these infiltrators were just terrorists, were they Pakistan army? Nothing. So the enemy was unknown. I was flown in from a place called Doda, where I was already combating terrorists over there, straight into the battle over there. And believe me, those few days and months that I spent over there, being bombarded day in and day out, no sleep, no proper sleep, and absolutely restricted in your movements, ensuring that the wellness of your troops, the safety of your troops are there, you being the commanding officer, and then at the same time preparing for war. It reminded me of the situation that we are facing today. Because, believe me, this is war that is happening here. There's a little difference though. In actual conventional war, you had the front line far away from you. You had the soldiers fighting in front for you. You, of course, burned the candles behind. You gave them moral support. And that was good. But today, my dear friends, this whole thing has shifted. The front lines have shifted. The person who's fighting in front is not the soldier. You are the soldier. The enemy is at the gates. And the enemy is not known. Because though we know that it's coronavirus, but we don't know everything about this virus. And therefore, it's an unknown enemy. And to make matters worse, you don't have the weapon to kill it. This virus, you don't have the weapon to kill it. There is neither a vaccine today, nor is there any tested medicine which can be used for the treatment of this as a particular medicine. Of course, today I got very good news that Gilead Pharmacy from US, they have used some Redimifir or something, some molecule which is very effective, etc. But again, not tested to a great extent. So, in a scenario like this, what happens? There is a curfew and there is a lockdown. Justifiably so, because you cannot expect people to be moving around and spreading the infection. Because of this curfew and the lockdown, you are confined to the four walls of your house. You cannot do those things what you used to do before. You cannot follow that routine. There are 1,001 things which were pending, which you had to do, which you thought you could not survive without doing. There were so many repairs and renovations and other things and jobs which are pending. So you are totally in a scenario where you are absolutely uncomfortable. And this discomfort, compounded with the fact that the enemy is unknown and you do not have a weapon to fight it, brings about fear. The fear of the unknown. What is going to happen? A. B. It brings out a lot of disorientation in your being because you get totally disoriented. And if you recollect, the first 1 week you didn't know what hit you because you thought it was a good party time and you started having a good time. But come second week, you knew this is not on. And after 40 odd days of lockdown, the atmosphere is totally different. People are feeling absolutely frustrated. Some are feeling angry. Fear has turned to panic. Some people are obsessed. So this is the scenario here today. So in a situation like this, from all my past years of experience in both army and the corporate, I have put together about 5 or 6 factors that we should look into, we should put our thoughts into. And these 5 factors, I dare say, would probably see you through this lockdown and this whole situation better. In other words, I will give you a very different perspective of what we are facing today. So the first factor I bring to you, which always comes up, when a situation like this arises, is courage. Because where there is fear, there is courage. Too much of fear brings about panic. And once you're in a panic situation, you lose your composure, you lose your ability to think calmly and come to a good solution. So therefore, it is very important that we control this factor called fear, and therefore courage. Now, courage should not be mistaken as absence of fear. No. Even the biggest of the yodhas, you can think of anyone, they all had fear. Because see, it is a genetic wiring where the law of preservation tells us that you got to preserve yourself, your life. And that brings about fear, because there is a fear of you losing your life. And all of us, even me, there were many times where we are absolutely scared. But the difference here is those people who overcome this fear concentrate on how to find a solution and then go about facing that same thing or the same situation which has brought about this fear. Of course, not without inconsideration and not without your being cautious. With all those things, calculated risks, everything, you face it squarely. And that, my friends, is courage. I remember when we got ready for launching the battle and the green signal was given to us to capture this post called Khalubar Post, which is located right in the heart of the enemy positions or defenses. Now, the importance of this place was it was a communication hub, plus it was a very, very dominating area and an area from where we could launch further attacks. Therefore, it would turn the tide of war in Patalik sector. So when a situation like that came, it was thought of as mission impossible because it was in the heart of the enemy defenses. And here, you could not even progress to 1 feet ahead of you. So much of fire from the enemy. They were so well ensconced and absolutely well deployed over there. So in a scenario like that, one got a chance, one took it, said, I will do it. I told my boys, I came and explained to them, we have volunteered to do this and we must do this. We will capture Khalubar top. And believe me, it was not just the making of the choice and having the courage to volunteer. We have got to also implement it. And the casualty ratio calculated at that point of time was above 80 to 90% of casualties. That means there was very, very less chances of you coming back alive. So without much thought, we prepared ourselves and then we set on. And we, with 2 companies worth of my troops, we marched ahead. And I remember at some point of time when we were very close to the enemy positions, we pulled out our kukris and my boys, 5 feet something, started literally hacking and chopping their way up with the heads rolling down. And of course, to cut the story short, we reached the top and we, after fighting a bitter battle for 3 to 4 days, we captured it. In other words, it was the dare to do, the courage to take up this challenge that helped us achieve this goal. If you had really seen the theoretical part of it, it was not considered possible to come back alive from this operation. So therefore, the only way to, overcome any type of fear or a situation is to take it head on. Even when you are ambushed in the military, the teaching is even if you are ambushed from either side, with all your energy, together you have to break through the ambush. If you try to run at that point of time, rest assured, the situation will be totally adverse to you, because they would have already planned those escape areas from where you would probably run away. But when you hit them straight on and head on, that is least expected, there are more chances of survival. So therefore, do not fear, because there are a lot of casualties just because of fear itself. The fear itself kills people. The actual situation, as the survey has proved, the actual situation kills only 10% of the actual situation kills a person. It is the fear of the fear that kills most of the people. So let's firstly remove this. Let's have that courage to come out, face it. When I say come out, I don't mean come out of your gate and start walking out. What I mean is come out of this fear, psychosis, and get out, move out, march out there and face the enemy. Next is, the next factor that comes to my mind is the aspect of your duty. Now, duty is often little confusing and mixed up to people. Is it duty towards your family? Is it duty towards your organization? Is it duty towards your nation? Yes, duty towards all. And even duty towards yourself. Because unless you yourself are fit, and unless you yourself are looking after yourself, you cannot look after others. So in the duty, I recollect, some people told me, and they asked me, Karan, in the army, how is it possible that people, the soldiers are ordered, there is a machine gun in front of you there, and that machine gun is spewing death at the rate of, like Anuj said, 1,000 rounds a minute. And those bullets are zinging past you. Yet this boy or the group of boys, they get up without even thinking twice, and they charge and they attack. How is it possible? How can you motivate your people to do such a thing? So those people, I say, look, it is not motivation alone. Because motivation is more of a capitalistic concept. It's transactional. It says, agar tum ye karoge, to tumhe ye milega. If you do this, your names will be in the annals of history. If you do this, you'll be recognized as a hero. You'll get this, you'll get that. In other words, it's transactional. So what is it that makes people go beyond motivation, and what is that which is beyond motivation? The word that I coined is volition. Volition means you are not doing it because someone is telling you to do it. You are doing it because you feel right from here that it is your duty to do it. To make and explain it easier, go to the Karma Yoga concept. What is the Karma Yoga concept? It says, phal ki chinta na kar, karam kiye ja. That means don't look for your consequences. Don't look for profit. Don't look for recognition. Don't look for reward. You do it because it is your bounden duty to do it. And that is the jazba, that is the josh which has to be inside your heart to do what you have to do, that duty 100%. And all these other theoretical questions will be answered when you reach that plateau. As far as medical practitioners are concerned, I'm so happy. They have an oath, just like we, the army officers, take an oath. They have the Hippocratic Oath. And they have got those 4 factors in the Hippocratic Oath. I still remember that autonomy, justice, beneficence, non-maleficence. If all our practitioners follow these and not just merely treat it as a rite or a passage for your graduation, and follow this oath in letter and spirit, I think half a battle will be won. Today, in this hour of need, there is definitely a need for every doctor who's trained to come out and think about others, think about using the talents and the knowledge that they have to save your own people, your own humankind over here. And this is again aspect about duty, which is very, very important and very, very close to my heart. Now, along with duty comes the very, very, what shall we say, conjointed factor called discipline, which is joined with duty. That's why they always say duty and discipline. What is discipline? My definition of discipline is what you do when nobody is watching you. When there is someone supervising you, there is a boss standing on top of you, you are on the best, you are in the best foot forward. But what do you do when nobody is watching you? A. B is your mind. Have you disciplined your mind? Is your mind thinking the thoughts? Is your mind believing the thoughts that you should be believing in, which is the correct one? Are you letting it go haywire? That's the question. So that comes to self-discipline. And I think this aspect of discipline is important because of 2-3 things. Firstly, it forms the bulwark of a society. Any society has got its own societal rules, norms, ways, and discipline means following those properly. It brings stability to the structure and the organization that you are serving in. It was discipline that ensured when at times when we were climbing those absolutely killer slopes, minus 32 degrees Celsius, freezing, hungry, absolutely tired, almost 80 pounds worth of weight behind your back with your rifle also freezing, climbing a 80-degree incline and the enemy firing at you. In times like that, it was only discipline that kept us together. It was discipline that kept the rank and file together. It was discipline that kept us together for the attack, for the final attack on the enemy, despite the most adverse of situations. So discipline, we must practice ourselves. It means basically understanding what your shortcomings are. It means setting certain goals. Now that you are confined, you have so much time in your hand, setting certain goals, structuring your time to make sure that you do not waste time and doing something more, which is more contributory. So this all is part of discipline, which one has to take care of. Next is a little lighter moment. They say laughter is medicine. And the other one is, when I was a young officer, even in college, I always used to read only 2 things in the Reader's Digest. Used to get those small Reader's Digest. I used to read only 2 things in that one. One is humor in uniform, and the other one was life. What was that? Medicine of life. Yeah, which was there. Laughter, the medicine of life. And there used to be beautiful jokes over there. Because humor is something that bonds people. You'll be surprised. A person who cracks jokes, often you will always see people gathering around him. Humor can actually inspire people at times. Humor can lighten the burden that you are facing because it is required today. You see the people working tirelessly. They are tired. They have seen only tragedy. They have only seen negativity. And in a scenario like this, you see someone with a little bright face and a lovely something to lighten your burden. It's tremendous. I recollect when we were to set for the attack, we had to kit ourselves. When you say kit ourselves, that means get the good kit over there to make sure that during the battle you are absolutely kitted properly. And as you know, all the forge in the whole world, there are only two sizes I always maintain. Also, this is part of the humor. We say the two sizes are either too big or too small. No other size. So I got a snow boot which was 10.5 size. My size is 8.5 for a snow boot. And with the result, the toe of the snow boot was here and my actual toe was here. There was such a big gap. You could play kabaddi in between you. That was the big gap between my toe and the toe of the snowshoe. And as we marched, and the boys were saying, sir, why don't we get this thing in the correct size? I told them, don't worry. फौज जो भी करता है सोच के करता है, don't worry. And I kept on cheering them up. And lo and behold, as we crossed the near the Jungklungpa Nala and we were going ahead and ahead and ahead, suddenly there was, when I was marching towards my objective, a lot of machine gun fire. Initially, it was not so accurate. But later on, as we closed in, it became more and more accurate. And then 2 bullets from the machine gun came and went through my snow boot, toe of my snow boot. So the toe was here, my toe was here. And this bullet went right through the gap between the toe and the snow boot. And even in that serious moment, I gathered whoever was around me. I said, come here. हमने तुमको पहले बताया था ना, आर्मी हमेशा सोच के देता है. देखो अभी गोली गया है, सीओ साहब का जूता में कैसे गया है, देखो बिल्कुल थ्रू इधर से गया है. And you won't believe it. My boys were tired. They were tensed up because we were going for an attack which could mean our death. Even in that tense moment, I could see that they were feeling rejuvenated. They were feeling charged. So please keep this humor angle in mind. I've seen a lot of people, especially as doctors and medical practitioners, when the patients come to you, they always come with a lot of hope. Because they say, if there is anyone who can save me in this life, it's going to be this doctor. And if you have a grumpy face, at that point of time, he'll say, hope is very low. But you have a bright face and you give him hope, and this hope, I'm telling you, it multiplies your medicine and your treatment by 10 times. And there is better recovery there. So I hope I get to see more smiling faces when you go out for your COVID battle, henceforth, all the doctors. The next point is regarding change. Now, if any of us are under the wrong impression that once the lockdown is over, we'll go and get back into our lives the same way that we were doing before, you're sadly mistaken. There is going to be a paradigm shift in the way things are going to be. Right from geopolitics on to business, and even your personal life is going to change as never before. You are in that moment of history where you will see a paradigm shift. Later on, when you become grandfathers, you will talk about this time, which was the turning point in the history of mankind. So, be prepared for this change, because change will, if you do not change, then change will change you. And once the change changes you, it's not done in a nice manner. It's rather nasty. So it is better that we change ourselves and in time. So basically, what does it entail? It entails that you need to prioritize things now. As you sit down, do not waste time on any other things. Prioritize what you have to do in life. Remember, change always starts right from the top. So whatever change that you want to bring to yourself, to your household, to your children, your family, your organization, you have to start that change. You have to be that change agent. Diagnose the problems, because even for those people who are running businesses, you have lots to worry about. Things are not going to be same. Those people who had roaring practices with hundreds and thousands of people waiting, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Things will change drastically. How it is going to change, I don't know. But one thing I know is it is not going to be the way it used to be. In preparing for change, one thing very important is your communication. Please keep your communication very crisp, very clear, and involve all the layers, all the stakeholders, so that there is no confusion. You know, for all those doomsday sayers and astrologers who said world is going to come to an end, this is too much, what is going to happen? Remember, World War I happened. 20 million people died. People thought things are going to be finished now for mankind, but we thrived. Spanish flu came just 2 years later. 50 million people died. What we are facing now is not even a fraction of what Spanish flu did to us. 50 million people died. At that time, medicine had not even advanced as much as what it is doing now. And yet, mankind has survived. Not only survived, we have thrived. Matter of fact, thrived so much that 2 decades later, we had World War II, where 70 million people died. Again, people said, "Ye to pralay." But we have thrived, and we are here today. So for all those doomsday sayers who says ki kal pura world is going to finish, you tell them you are wrong, my friend, because it is already tomorrow in US. We are sitting down here. It is already tomorrow in the West. So it has not finished today. It cannot finish today. And finally, I would like to talk to you about the timeless culture and the ethos of the Indian Army. And I would like you to take away few strengths from this ethos that the Army so lives. It doesn't just practice, it lives this ethos. There are 3 words. There are 3 ends to it. One is Naam, Namak, Nishan. These are the 3 things for which an Indian Army soldier lives, breathes, fights, and dies for. Naam, Namak, Nishan. What is Naam? Naam is the name of your country, the name of your organization, the name of your family. For that, they are willing to do all that. Next is Namak. What is Namak? Namak is the fidelity, the loyalty towards the organization, towards the country whose Namak you take, salt you take. And the last one is Nishan. In olden days, all battles, whenever they were fought, they used to carry one flag. The king always used to be near the flag. And whenever the battle used to rage on, the soldiers always looked at the flag. Whose flag is flying? And when they saw their own flag still, that dhawaj still flying, they used to get energized, inspired, and they kept on fighting. Even though their arms were cut and they were wounded, they kept on fighting. But the moment that dhawaj was down, that's why the enemy was always trying to get that banner and to put it down. The moment the banner was down, people used to leave the battle even if they were winning the battle at that point of time. That is the strength of the flag. So the third point is the Nishan. So why I am telling you all this is, we must have that patriotism in us, because that is the point which I want to culminate the whole thing into. Unless you have the patriotism in you and the love for your country, you will not do many things. You will not sacrifice too many things. You will keep on cribbing. You will keep on complaining. If you have the love for your country, all the things, all the discomforts, all the problems that you are facing, you will focus more on how to overcome this problem, how to solve this problem, rather than crib and keep on cribbing about the problem itself. So, my dear friends, with this, I would say keep a very positive outlook, focus your efforts, and focus on the positive things and on the finding of the solution of the problem. Remember your duty towards yourself, your family, your society, your organization, and your nation. Keep your discipline intact, because discipline is going to give you the strength to see you through all this. And of course, prepare for the change which is going to come, which will surely come. We are in this together. All of us are in this together, and together we shall prevail. And I will now end with one of the beautiful verses of Iliad, which is written by Homer, I think, yes, Homer. And in the Iliad, Homer says, for every man upon this earth, death cometh sooner or late. Death will come sooner or later. For how can man die better? But how can man die better? For the ashes of his fathers and the temples of his gods. So what he's saying is, for your family, for your namak, your nishan, you are willing to do, and it is the best way to go. It's the best way to go, that you are of use to your country. So if you are a patriot, please understand your duties and do it 100%. And I appeal to all the doctors. I have seen this in the TV, where in Western countries, even big government ministers, they were doctors. They have come and put on their stethoscope and they have got down onto the ground to fight. One of the beauty contestants also, she left everything and she put on a stethoscope, and she is also helping fight the COVID battle over there. So please put your hands and hearts together and your minds together. All the doctors, I appeal, come out. All the other people who are doing good work, carry on with the good work. And with this, I say, Jai Hind. Thank you.